One by one we break the chain. No more doubt, no more pain. Pure in heart we rise again. If your heart is full of stone, break up down, let love be shown. No more pride, no more shame. Wash and clean, call His name. Let the fire burn inside. Let the Spirit be your guide. Faith will fade, truth remain. Faith will lead us home again. Oh, about me back. Oh, Kajo Malo. No fear, no fight, just love again. Circumcised, be whole again.
Hey, hey, ha, ha. No wahala, we go there. Bobo wani kana. No one go walk alone. DJ Delala. Brick by brick, we stand again. One love. No fall, no shake, we rise again.
No be power, no be speed. Now the love will make us lead. And we have no figure weak. Together strong, no heart go sink. We dey lay foundation tight. Solid ground, future bright. If you paint today, we go heal tomorrow. Don't give up, we move, we follow. No rush, no fight, just love again. Brick by brick we rise again. Brick by brick we stand again.
In the decades after the scramble for Africa, the Black world stood at a crossroads. Colonial empires tightened their grip on the continent. Jim Crow laws choked freedom in the American South. And in the Caribbean and Latin America, Black people faced economic hardship, political marginalization, and constant reminders of their supposed inferiority. But something was shifting. Out of this global oppression, a movement was born. A movement of education, resistance, pride, and power. And at the center of it was one man, Marcus Garvey. He was not just a speaker or an organizer. He was a visionary, a prophet of pride, a fire starter in a world of silence. This is the story of Marcus Garvey and the global Black awakening. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was born on August 17, 1887, in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica. His father was a bricklayer and an avid reader, and his mother worked hard to support their family. From an early age, Garvey devoured books on history, philosophy, and politics. He attended school in Jamaica, but his most profound education came through experience. In his early 20s, Garvey traveled throughout Central America, working as a laborer and observing the brutal treatment of Black workers on banana plantations in Costa Rica and Panama. He saw that no matter the country, Black people were always on the bottom, denied opportunity, denied dignity. He later moved to London, where he studied at Birkbeck College and worked at the African Times and Orient Review. There, Garvey encountered the writings of Edward Wilmot Blyden and African nationalists who questioned European rule. He also read Booker T. Washington's Up from Slavery, which argued that Black people should build their own institutions and control their own economic future. In London, Garvey asked a question that would change history. Where is the Black man's government? Where is his president, his country, his flag, his navy, his men of big affairs? I could not find them. And then I declared, I will help to make them. By the early 20th century, the exploitation of Black people around the globe had reached horrifying new heights, in many ways even worse than during slavery. In Africa, European powers divided the continent into colonies, stripping the land of its wealth and the people of their freedom. Congolese laborers were whipped and mutilated for failing rubber quotas. In Namibia, Germany carried out a genocide against the Herero and Nama peoples. In Kenya and South Africa, indigenous populations were pushed onto reservations and forced to work in mines and plantations under brutal conditions. In the Caribbean, Black laborers toiled on sugar plantations and in docks with little pay and no rights. In the American South, sharecropping, convict leasing, and racial terror replaced slavery with new systems of oppression. Black soldiers fought and died in World War I, only to return home to segregation, lynchings, and broken promises. The chains had changed form, but they were still there. Legal chains, economic chains, psychological chains. The colonial world was built on Black labor, Black bodies, and Black suffering. At the same time, the ideology of white supremacy was evolving. Scientific racism, the false belief that certain races were biologically superior to others, gained traction in universities, newspapers, and policymaking. Eugenics programs emerged in the US and Europe, while colonial officials justified oppression in Africa and the Caribbean as a civilizing mission for inferior peoples. These pseudo-scientific beliefs gave white supremacy a new mask, not just cultural, but now falsely proven by science. Garvey saw it all and called it what it was, a global empire of black exploitation, and he answered with something even more powerful, a global movement of black pride, unity, and liberation. In 1914, Garvey returned to Jamaica and founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, the UNIA. Its mission was clear: to uplift the people of African descent and to establish a unified and self-reliant black nation. Garvey believed in black pride, self-reliance, and Pan-African unity. His message found little support in colonial Jamaica, so in 1916, he moved to the United States and landed in Harlem at the perfect moment. Black soldiers were returning from World War I disillusioned. The Harlem Renaissance was beginning to bloom. Millions of black Americans were fleeing the terror of the South in the Great Migration. There was a hunger for something more, and Garvey delivered. He held mass rallies, established over 900 UNIA branches, and launched an ambitious plan to link the African diaspora in the Americas to the continent of Africa. The UNIA quickly became the largest mass movement of black people in history up to that point. Garvey preached self-reliance. He urged black people to start their own businesses, build their own schools, control their own media. The UNIA created factories, grocery stores, restaurants, and even a publishing house. It also launched the Negro World, a global newspaper printed in English, Spanish, and French. Marcus Garvey didn't just mention Africa in his speeches, he made it the center of his entire message. While others spoke of equality and civil rights, Garvey preached something far more radical: separation, independence, a return to the ancestral homeland. He told black people around the world, "You will never be free in another man's house. Go back to Africa, not in shame, but in strength, not as slaves returning, but as kings reclaiming their thrones." This wasn't a metaphor. Garvey meant it literally: ships, land, government, power. He envisioned a mass return, not of scattered individuals, but of a unified black nation rebuilding its future on African soil. No one had ever pushed this message so far. Not in the Caribbean, not in America, not even among African nationalists. Garvey turned the "back to Africa" idea from a whisper into a roar, backed by ships, blueprints, uniforms, and global organization. He built an entire steamship company, the Black Star Line, just to make it possible. He gave speeches to crowds of 20,000 people in Harlem, waving red, black, and green flags, shouting, "Africa for the Africans." For the first time in modern history, millions of black people across the world began to look to Africa not as a place of loss, but as a future, as destiny. Garvey's words broke the mental chains of slavery and colonialism. He gave black people something they had been denied for 400 years: the right to imagine their own land, their own flag, their own power. In 1924, Marcus Garvey finally set sail for Africa. After years of preaching a return to the motherland, he boarded a ship and crossed the Atlantic, determined to secure land in Liberia, where black people from around the world could build a new empire of their own. He stopped first in Sierra Leone, a British colony, but Garvey didn't come to serve under colonial rule. He came to lead a free black nation. Liberia was supposed to be that nation. An independent republic founded by formerly enslaved Africans, Liberia had once welcomed Garvey's plans. But by the time he arrived in West Africa, the door had already been slammed shut. Under pressure from the United States government, the Firestone Tire Company, and European colonial powers, Liberia reversed its position. Garvey was blocked from entering the country, denied the very land that had been promised to his movement. He stood just one border away from his dream, and they wouldn't let him in. Some asked why he didn't stay in Sierra Leone, but Sierra Leone, like nearly all of Africa at the time, was still in chains, controlled by the British Empire. And Garvey wasn't looking for a place to settle under white rule. He was looking for liberation, total independence. Africa for the Africans, at home and abroad. And when Liberia turned him away, the Back to Africa movement suffered a devastating blow. Not because the dream had died, but because the empire knew how powerful it could become. Garvey's Black Star Line steamship company was designed to facilitate trade and transport between the African diaspora and Africa itself. Though it ultimately failed, its symbolic value was immense. It represented black people moving under their own power, across oceans once used to enslave them. Garvey's rhetoric was fiery, prophetic, and unapologetic. He addressed crowds of tens of thousands dressed in regal military-style uniforms, declaring that black people must no longer beg for inclusion in white society. They must build their own. His slogan echoed through the streets: Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Garvey's message terrified the white establishment and drew criticism from black elites. To federal authorities, Garvey was a dangerous agitator. J. Edgar Hoover, then a young FBI agent, targeted Garvey as one of the first victims of COINTELPRO-style surveillance. Hoover hired black informants to infiltrate the UNIA, gather intelligence, and discredit Garvey's plans. Garvey was eventually indicted on charges of mail fraud related to the Black Star Line. Though the charges were flimsy, the damage was done. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison. In 1927, President Calvin Coolidge commuted his sentence and deported him to Jamaica. Meanwhile, some of Garvey's fiercest critics came from within the black community. W.E.B. Du Bois, co-founder of the NAACP and editor of The Crisis, called Garvey the most dangerous enemy of the Negro race. The Du Bois-Garvey feud was bitter. Du Bois believed in integration, higher education, and legal action within the American system. Garvey believed in separation, sovereignty, and nationhood outside of it. But in truth, both men played vital roles in the global Black awakening. Like Frederick Douglass and Martin Delany before them, Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois represented the two longest living schools of Black political thought. One demanding justice where they stood, the other imagining freedom across the sea. Part of what made Garvey so effective was his mastery of image and ceremony. He understood that black people, long stripped of royalty, culture, and pride, needed to see themselves as powerful again. At UNIA conventions, black men and women dressed in elegant gowns and uniforms, carried banners, and paraded through Harlem like an army of kings and queens. He crowned himself the provisional president of Africa and created a flag, the red, black, and green Pan-African banner that still flies today. Every symbol said one thing: we are not slaves, we are a nation. Though Garvey spent his final years in relative obscurity, his legacy was just beginning. In Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah called himself a Garveyite and named his nation's shipping company the Black Star Line. The Black Star on Ghana's flag is a tribute to Garvey. In America, the Nation of Islam adopted Garvey's message of black pride and economic self-sufficiency. Malcolm X's parents were UNIA organizers. In Jamaica, the Rastafari movement hailed Garvey as a prophet who predicted the rise of Haile Selassie. In South Africa, liberation fighters drew inspiration from Garvey's call for African unity. Across the Caribbean and Latin America, Garvey's name became synonymous with dignity, identity, and resistance. Even in death, Marcus Garvey's message thundered through the 20th century. You are not broken. You are not inferior. You are not lost. You are a nation, and your future is yours to build. Marcus Garvey did not live to see African independence. He did not see segregation fall in the US or apartheid collapse in South Africa, but he lit the match. Marcus Garvey, like Toussaint Louverture a century before him, was a spark, igniting the global Black independence movement in the 20th century, just as the Haitian Revolution lit the fire that led to the end of the transatlantic slave trade. Both men became symbols of defiance, self-determination, and the unstoppable demand for Black freedom. His voice rang out in a world that had silenced Black people for centuries and called them to rise, to stand, to build, to believe. This was the beginning of the global Black awakening, and Marcus Garvey was its spark. Thanks for watching. If you found this story insightful, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue uncovering the hidden truths of history. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.
One by one we break the chain. No more doubt, no more pain. Pure in heart we rise again. If your heart is full of stone, break them down, let love be shown. No more pride, no more shame. Wash and clean, call His name. Let the fire burn inside, let the Spirit be your guide. Faith or faith, truth remain. Faith gon' lead us home again. Oh, about me back. Oh, Kajo Malo, no fear, no fight, just love again. Circumcised, be rule again.
Hey, hey, ha, ha, no wahala we go there. Bois no one go walk alone. DJ Delany, brick by brick we stand again. One love. No fall, no shake, we rise again.
No be power, no be speed. Now the love will make us lead. And we have no figure weak. Together strong, no heart go sink. We dey lay foundation tight. Solid ground, future bright. If you pain today, we go heal tomorrow. Don't give up, we move, we follow. Oh, buy me back.
Oh, Kajo Malo. No rush, no fight, just love again. Brick by brick we rise again. Delany. Brick by brick we stand again. One love. No fall, no shake, we rise again.
Hey, no be power, no be speed. And the love will make us lead. And we have no figure weak. Together strong, no heart go sink. We dey lay foundation tight. Solid ground, future bright. If you pain today, we go heal tomorrow. Don't give up, we move and follow. Oh.
One by me there. Oh, Kajo Malo. No rush, no fight, just love again. Brick by brick we rise again. No fear, no wrong, we go stand again. Brick by brick we build again. Ground fall, but we still dey rise. Wipe the dust from my weary eyes. No rush, no race, we take our time. Steady hands, we realign. Took some losses, we felt the pain, but no storm fi wash us away. One by one, we lift the chain. Side by side, we heal again. Hey, hey, ah, no wahala we go there. Bois no one go walk alone. Jele like on. Brick by brick, we stand again. One heart, one love. No fall, no shake, we rise again. No be power, no be speed. Now the love will make us lead. And we have no figure weak. Together strong, no heart go sing. We dey lay foundation tight. Solid ground, future bright. If you pain today, you go heal tomorrow. No give up, we moving, follow. Oh, waba me babe. Oh, Kajo Malo. No rush, no fight, just love again. Brick by brick, we rise again. Like